All right, excited about Dallas week. Another primetime game, great opponent. We got our work cut out for us. So excited about that. Just did a walkthrough today. Just finished that up. Just from the Monday night game, just getting guys' legs rested and mental day for us. So good day of work so far, and we'll continue here this afternoon.
Jeff, these shorter weeks, how do you handle them as a player? Are the challenges the same? Are they different as a coach? One less day to prepare?
Yeah, really from preparation, you kind of steal a day last week to start the prep for this week. So, that's kind of what we did. So you kind of find the flow. Obviously, you play late into Monday night, so yesterday was a long day. But from a coaching perspective, that's they're accustomed to it. Player wise, I never thought it by most of the days you're taking you get that Wednesday walkthrough as opposed to a normal day in pad. So comfort level by the time you hit Sunday, it all feels the same.
Jeff, as you played in the league, you run into situations like this. The underdog, it seemed like every week you go in.
Yeah.
As far as being the Colts now, what message? What do you share with your team as they go up against a very good Cowboys team on Sunday?
A process matters, right? And we got to stack weeks of practice on top of each other. I use the special teams as a great example, right? I mean, I think that we had talked about for the last 2 weeks. We weren't doing great techniques and fundamentals. We weren't hitting the spots we were supposed to. And I thought Monday night we really saw kind of the fruits of their labor, of really sticking to low hip, making sure we understood what we were doing, hands inside, all the things that Bubba and Joe do a great job of coaching. But you saw two big returns, right? You saw us kind of turn and impact the game. No different for offense and defense, right? Finding our way, process, pushing through on techniques and fundamentals. It will break, but it's going to take time. It's discipline. It's week after week of stacking practices and then ultimately taking it to the field, from the practice field to the game field.
Jeff, any thoughts addressing Nick Foles or bumping him up at all?
No, I mean, I think Nick has done a really good job for us. He's continued to stay, really loyal to this football team, and so I have confidence in both he and Sam. I think they're both great players and do a really good job of helping Matt. So other than that, that's just kind of where we are.
Jeff, even for a guy who played in the league like you did for a long time, and even for long-time assistants, the jump to head coaches, there's a lot more, right, that nobody sees, that only head coaches see. What have you learned the last 25, 30 days that you couldn't have known before you took the job?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think from the process from scheduling, distractions, and I mean distractions in the nicest of ways, right? Like meetings, media, all the different things that take you in and out of positional meetings, or I think that part has been the part that I've learned the most. There's never a dull moment in the office, right? It's a revolving door, and I think that part, being able to find time and make sure you're very structured in finding time to do the parts the priorities that matter most, making sure you're sticking to those parts, and then making sure you stay on message, yourself, your staff, your players, making sure those guys understand the vision hasn't changed. We got to continue to work, and then obviously in a situation like this where we haven't played well or not well enough to win, we haven't earned it, making sure guys understand how close, that winning and losing in the NFL is razor thin, right? There's no margin for error, and just understanding how execution flips you, and just continuing to show those guys what that looks like, and hope we find our stride here quickly.
Does it feel like at times you're the CEO of a company and it's hard to find time to just coach football?
I don't know about the CEO part, but I will say from just coaching, it definitely. And I think part of that too was getting thrust in midway through, right? So, from understanding everything about the offense, defense, and special teams, trying to gather as much as possible. Obviously, if you start this in January or February and get, it would come a little easier. But, again, it's where we are. There's no excuses, no explanations. I just got to get it and do the best I can with it.
Jeff, with where this team is now, is it difficult to not lose the team? Not as a coach, but you've lost whatever 5 of 6 in the playoffs, or just distant. How do you keep telling them to reload, let's do it again? How do you?
Yeah, I honestly, Chap, a great question, and I draw on one of our worst years here, right? When Peyton was injured, and we're 2-14, and it was a miserable experience from a winning and losing. But I told them I learned so much about myself as a football player, as a man, as a leader in those kind of darkest days, right? When you went and I watched Caldwell go through it, and as an organization, what that felt like. And I encourage guys that, this will be a defining moment in your life of how you do you love ball? Because it'll show up, right? Do you love the work? Do you love the process? Because the results haven't been what we've wanted. But how do we get ourselves to change the results portion is through the process and making sure we stay steadfast to that. And from a player perspective, them understanding the business of our game, right, is that it's not only for the Colts now, but the audition for 31 other teams is a very real thing in the NFL. And what you put on tape is what people believe about you. So if you want to be a legacy player or a type of player that people recognize, it doesn't matter what the record is. It's on you. Those numbers, you can't hide them on game film. So make sure that you're representing your name and that number well.
That year, the outside noise was suck for luck, which I'm sure players in the locker room didn't care about.
Right.
So now the outside noise is every win you guys get, it hurts you in the draft position.
Oh.
You can't buy into that, can you?
No, absolutely not. From the guys in this room, you and myself included, I know my name's getting attached to wins and losses. So whatever happens, that ain't my business, right? I'm about W's and L's, and I want to be the best head coach I can be. And so, no, yeah, and I make we haven't even addressed it, but from my train of thought, it has never been about what it looks like, whether I was a player or even now as as a coach, what it looks like next year. It's about now. We got plenty ahead to take care of.
Jeff, you had a lot of praise last week for Pittsburgh's D-line. How
Yeah.
do you compare Dallas's D-line to
Listen, both lines were extremely good. I would say Dallas, from a pass rush perspective, brings more challenges because last week I think I told you it was 4 or 5 of the guys. Now it's 10 of 13. I mean, these guys are getting sacks at an alarming rate. They get ahead, and it is a track meet. You're in trouble. And I think everybody understands what that looks like. I don't care who you are, how good you are, offensive line wise. This is a very good group. They're polished. Dan Quinn, I know him. I respect the heck out of him. I lived in Atlanta when he was the head coach, and I have the utmost respect for what he does. And his players play hard. They're well coached. They're smart. And so I've told our guys, the challenge is before you. But again, from a protection standpoint, whether it's backs, tight ends, offensive line, these are moments that you can define who you are. Can you go block the best? And you should appreciate that challenge, and you should take and make the most of it if you're a player who wants to be known for that.
Jeff, you mentioned that the quarterback depth chart is pretty much the way you want it. Why is that? And is it just you feel like that's the way best chance to win, or?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think when Nick came in, he as the switch made between Matt and Sam and all those things, I wasn't here for any of that. I think both he and Sam have done a really good job on scout team, and I've appreciated the way they've both attacked this thing. They're both great, great teammates to each other. But like I said, I think Nick has continued to show week in and week out, he deserves that opportunity, and that's why I made the switch.
Jeff, when you talked about the razor-thin margin, winning and losing, when you were here, there was always that mentality in the fourth quarter, close game,
Yeah.
Colts are going to win. How do you install that into this locker room? Because, so many of these games have come down to one stop in the fourth quarter.
No, absolutely. And from my perspective of how do you make the switch, it was always about execution for us. I mean, we always felt we were going to teams would beat themselves if we just stayed the course, right? And unfortunately, we've been on the other side where we're beating ourselves. And so to flip that, we talk about it all the time. Man, when it's called, how do we execute it? And so, I go through and show plays, myself, them, hey, here's what our thinking should be, and just give them a picture of here's how we hurt ourselves. Here's how if we stay the course, we'll end up flipping these 2 W's. And to your point, we, as a player, I always felt like when we hit the fourth quarter or the end of the fourth quarter, somebody on that squad was going to make a play. And it's having the faith and the confidence in each of the guys that you're lining up with that whoever's turn it is, it's their opportunity to go make the most of it. And so that's where we're trying to get to.